Make sure you have a deacon ballot and packet. I think they're back on the stool straight back in the center of the sanctuary. So we'll just take 1 minute, make sure everybody can get one of those, and then we'll get started. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order real quickly, and then I'll ask Pastor Will to open us up in a word of prayer. Are we ready? Go ahead.
Am I on now? There we go. Okay. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for your goodness to us. So thank you that we can gather together and consider the work of your church, and we're just grateful that we can actually get some things done after being kind of on hiatus for so long, and just pray that you guide and direct us, help us have some good discussion and good interaction that be honoring to you in your Son's name. Amen.
Thank you, Will. You should have an agenda. There's 9 items on the agenda. We need to add an item 10, and that is the election of church officers. When we get to that, you'll find out they really don't do anything, but they are in the bylaws, so we have to elect them. So with that addition to the agenda, could I have a motion to approve the agenda? What's that? I'm the only one with the agenda. We didn't get that. Okay. You didn't. Tamara did not get an agenda. So we'll have 10 items on our agenda. Hopefully we'll move those quickly. The first item, hopefully in your packet, is the minutes. So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes. They're on the wall. Tamara says yes. She'll motion. Is there a second for that? Thank you, Esther. Any discussion or questions on the minutes that were posted on the wall? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed to the minutes that were on the wall? No. Okay, good deal. Membership. We have some new memberships. Do you want to do the new memberships first, or do you want to do the... Which ones do you want to do first? Okay, Sally's got some membership changes.
I think they're going to do videos on the ones that are going to be adding, so I'm just going to read the dismissals. Catherine Daly, Scott and Marty Owen, the Sharbog family, John and Marissa and the kids. Sho Young, Jordan Jacobson, Vivian Johnson, Kelly and Blaine Barfneck, Chuka and Sasha Peterson, Yun Yun Meng, Amber, Sarah and Mashal Mohamed, Temi and Tori Agbaje, Jeff, Jenny and Caleb Wood, Rodney, Beth, Macy and Madeline Snitzer, Rachel and Jesse Reed.
Okay, so there'll be a motion to accept those dismissals. Motion back by Nick. Is there a second for that? Second by Dave. Any questions for Sally or anything on those? All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Do you want your vote recorded, Arden? Okay, recorded. Okay. Okay. Yes, Nate. Yes. Yep, sorry, Nate, I apologize for missing your question. And then we have they're going to run videos for the new ones. You'll take those? Perfect.
I don't need my mask. Okay, we have some videos. We have some people who are joining. We took those videos, but I did not have a chance to get those up. So we're going to show those over the next couple of weeks. So they're coming. We'll vote on them when they happen. So okay, I think I'm next anyway, right? So
Will give us a COVID discussion.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor of really excited to hear this, raise your hand.
That's right, that's what I'm asking. Obviously, as we all know, COVID's been kind of this ongoing thing for a while, and it's going to be continuing to be ongoing. And so we've been praying about it, thinking about it, how do we care for people? And the challenge of the situation is you have, in a sense, two different groups. You have this group that's, and think of it as a spectrum, and this, I'm going to kind of paint it in extremes, and most people are probably somewhere in the middle of the spectrum rather than on the ends, right? So you have one side that's basically staying at home, is isolated, views themselves or people they're interacting with at risk, and so they're trying to protect that themselves as well as others. And the other side of the spectrum are people who are out in the community. Typically, they are not staying at home. Most of them have to work. They have to be out in the community. Their kids have to be out in the community, and so you have these two sides of the spectrum. And the challenge, as pastorally speaking, is those two groups of people have very different needs in some way. The side that's staying at home or isolated is often feeling lonely, feeling disconnected, feeling that they wonder who cares. They're maybe a little bit depressed, feeling a lack of purpose. I mean, they might be working from home, but it's just not the same because God did not make us to stay at home all the time. You understand? And yet they're feeling the need to do that, and I get that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's where they're at. And then you have other people who are out in the community. Again, some of them may want to be able to stay home, but they can't. They have to work, or they have kids in school, and they have different needs because when you're out in the community, there's constant change, constant things happening. For instance, we are one of those families. My kids are in school, and we get periodic, like, hey, your kid's been exposed to COVID, and okay, and we have to, okay, what do we do? How do we handle that? So there's constant change that's happening. There's constant, because of that, there's fairly constant stress, but it's kind of this low-level stress because you're at least out, you interact with people, you're able to do things, and so you have these two, in a sense, different groups of people. And how do we best minister to them? How do we care for them? What do we do? And not only that, but this has not been just a couple of months long. This has been now going on 7-8 months in, right, on this. And it looks like it's going to continue at least into next year. And so it's not just those needs, but it's those needs over time and the wearing down, the impatience that happens, the relationships that get more tense, right? Be Monica and Rohit, who got married and basically had to be isolated by themselves and really build their marriage together. That's really nice, but most of us can't do that. And so we're kind of in these constant stresses. How do we care for one another, and how do we deal with this over time? And so, obviously, as pastors, we're kind of navigating this because it's you think to yourself, okay, things are going to go a certain way, and then they don't, or you think, that things are kind of in place, and then you realize they're not totally in place, or different things are happening, and so first of all, I just kind of like to say, hey, thanks for enduring so far. This has been a challenge, and it will continue to be a challenge for a while, and I would encourage you and exhort you to continue to endure. It takes endurance to get through some of these things. And endurance means, in some ways, again, not getting suspicious of people that you haven't seen in a while, or that you're wondering what their motives are, or you're wondering what's going on. And just keep spending time with the Lord. It's one of the things, blessings in some senses of if you're more isolated, you can spend time with God and build that relationship with Him. That's a good thing. Also, overall, as pastors, we believe that you need face-to-face time. This is what I mean by that. God made us to be face-to-face. And He ultimately wants to be face-to-face with us. That's His goal. So if you're, and I realize you may be married, I want to put this caveat in a sense. You need someone besides your spouse that you're face-to-face with, in that sense. I'm not going to get into all the reasons on masks or no masks. That's not my point here. My point is that you need face-to-face time where you see other people, you interact with people, you feel connected to people. God made us like that. In the world out there, there's definitely more suicides. We've had one at Gilbert. There's been one at Ballard. There's been one at Ames. There's been some in Iowa State. It's not, God did not make us to be isolated like this, and so there's challenges to it, and we don't want you to not understand how you've been made and then try to, in a sense, fight it. Now, we're not saying, for instance, that you have to come here, and see everyone, because frankly, even before COVID, we were saying this really isn't coming to the church service, isn't face-to-face time, in a sense. You're just coming and maybe seeing my face for too long, and then that. So what we're really saying ultimately is you need time, and that's what we're trying to provide it. We were, in a sense, saying, hey, we realize ABFs are a challenge right now. We want to do small groups, encourage, we kind of relabeled them community groups, but saying, hey, you need to get in one of those, just so you can have even time outside in people's homes or whatever, so you can have time with people. Or core groups is the same idea, right? If you're not comfortable in maybe a group of 10, hey, a group of 2 or 3 or 4, where you can spend some time face-to-face, even socially distanced, that doesn't matter, but face-to-face. You need that. God made us to operate that way, and so don't ignore that in your ability to endure. That's a part of it, and so that's what we're saying. Hey, if you're not in a community group yet, we'd love to get you in one. If you're not in a core group yet, we'd love to get you in one of those. Whatever best fits your scenario and the needs that you have, we would want to get that. As pastors too, we've tried to visit more people, especially the elderly. We've tried to visit those more often and get face-to-face with them, even in a mask, to get a little face-to-face time, just because we need it and they need it as well. I appreciate Lowell and Audrey. They're bringing Donna Wobig from Bickford to church on a regular basis. She wasn't well today, but just because we need that time with people and interacting, and so we encourage that to take place. And also, as Jed said this morning about it is more blessed to give than to receive, don't just be thinking about face-to-face time, be thinking about who you can bless, who you can give to this week. Give time or energy, a phone call, time with people. It actually helps when you, in a sense, get out of yourself and think about others. How can I bless others? How can I encourage them? Maybe send them a note, send them a gift, whatever. Just think of ways to give, not just to receive during this time. That will help you endure. And so those are just encouragements during this time. This is kind of unprecedented, at least in our lifetimes. And so we just encourage you to keep enduring, keep being safe. There's a lot of challenges out there with that. If you're at work or whatever, we encourage you to stay safe as well. But understand that don't prioritize safety, in a sense, solely over really being with God's people in some way. And so we realize that there's also just the challenge of being here and being in a service and making that feel at least somewhat normal as a part of life. And so we've realized over time that certain people were just not going to come back until there was a vaccine, until it was clear that this was taken care of. Some people, we realized over time, want to come back but also don't feel as safe in the service because of masks, etc. And we were just kind of debating that because we had two issues going on this fall. One was, how do we deal with masks, etc. But we also had to deal with just social distancing in this room in general. When we have most people here that are going to come the way it is set up right now, we are basically full. We are social distance, and we're like, okay, if people come in late, you might notice them looking around for several minutes before they decide, I can sit there, because we're basically so full. So to just say, okay, we're going to go to a mass service so we can get more people here wasn't going to solve the problem. And so we kind of debated, what do we do? We really talked through it at the end of September into October, realized it wasn't quite the right time. We didn't have all our ducks in a row. But what we'd like to do for Thanksgiving and Christmas, to kind of provide some opportunities, especially for those who feel like they can't make it unless everything's masked because of the risks. We're going to have a service at 8 o'clock in the gym the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so the 22nd of November, and then the December 6th, we'll have the same service in the gym. I'll explain a little bit more. And then we'll have a service on Saturday evening, the 19th, the Sunday before Christmas, so you can be in the auditorium and we can have more of a Christmas service for those people. So that's kind of how we're seeking to handle it. So it'll be, just to explain it a little bit more, it'll be in the gym before everyone arrives, besides the worship team who will be in here practicing, and it will be masked. It'll be a mass service, mass mandated service in the gym, physically distanced for those who need that space, and we'll sing a couple of hymns from the hymnal. I'll preach, and we'll be done by 8:45. So it'll be a shortened service, but it'll be hopefully something that can be encouraging and helpful to people who would really like to get to church, who haven't been to church in months now, and they'd really like to come to church for Thanksgiving and Christmas especially. So we'll evaluate things after that. Frankly, again, we have the challenge of just being almost full, socially distanced, and we'll evaluate after that how we need to move forward. But we want to care for people well and try to do that as best we can. So, questions, thoughts, comments about that? Same message, yes, yeah. So you don't need to come to both unless you just want the blessing of being in both. Yes, and probably what we'll do for the mass service too is we will ask you to sign up ahead of time just so we make sure we have enough seats in the gym for that. Okay, seeing no questions about that or comments. Okay, thank you. Again, we're just trying to care for people in a variety of contexts. We realize this is a difficult time for everyone, and we're trying to make sure that we love people as best we can. All right, that's all I had for that.
So he's on his way. Dave Hyman, he's going to talk on the budget and some of the financial matters for the church and kind of cover some of those things. So do you need a mic, Dave?
Good morning, everyone. Technical difficulties here, I guess. Better get my kids in here to help me. Okay. My memory goes a little fuzzy as what we did a couple months ago, but with the budget, I believe I kind of talked through it again back then, and so kind of laid it all out for you. We weren't able to have a quorum back then, so it's the same budget, so the same proposed budget. As you guys recall, when we talked about it, when putting this budget together, we operated under just a position of caution and uncertainty with COVID and church attendance. I think we're starting to see much more of a pattern emerge, and the pattern is extremely encouraging. So currently, if this budget were in place, our giving is about 5% over. We're about a 5% increase over budget on our giving, while expenses are trending just about 4.5% under budget. I say budget loosely because if this was in place. So those are all encouraging things. I think that giving is very strong, has been very strong through this, just as I'm a testament to you guys, so praise the Lord on that. That's awesome. And we continue to have faithful givers. But we can walk through the proposal here. Most everything is just very flat. No really big changes, just year over year. One of the things I would highlight, just maybe building maintenance, kind of increased that, but or hold the budget same, but we're just believing that the building maintenance expenses will come in more in line with normal than what they were previous years. But yeah, I guess we kind of talked about it a couple different times, a couple different ways. I can rehash it, or maybe I just open it up for questions that you guys might have in regards to it. Maybe while you guys feel, yep, okay, awesome. what's your number there? I gotta find it. 5560. Flip my page. Yeah, so you can see that our, we had budgeted for 108, hit $20, so I just had set it for 100. Probably could have budgeted for $20 there. Just a different. So 108 was last year's budget, while $20 was the actual, and so I had set it for 100. Yep, no, you're okay. I was not prepared for a question about bank charges. I will tell you that. There you go. Yep, that's good. Thanks. So just you guys feel free to answer questions. I'm going to talk just a few minutes more here just about how we're doing this year, and I kind of summed it up, but I really am. I'm encouraged. I'm extremely encouraged by you guys and your faithful giving that during COVID, and so I think there's a lot of you maybe that are watching online too that continue to give to the church, and so we're very encouraged by that. In regards to that, obviously COVID has changed up a lot of things in our lives, and so one of those has been just the ability to count, to receive the money and go and deposit and take it to the bank. And so that counting process, maybe some of you who write checks have noticed that's been delayed. You might notice your check doesn't clear for a little bit. We are fine-tuning that process and improving that, and so look for changes to come, but just know that we are aware of that, and we are working through that and trying to work with them. And just I think that as we start to all kind of settle into a little bit new normal, we're starting to iron out that wrinkle there, and just hope to improve on that. Just as a kind of a housekeeping note. Nate. Yep, so Nate is talking about just online giving, a couple different things. If you pay with like a credit card, the payment processing fees are a higher amount than if you were to do like ACH. So if you type in your bank account routing number, I believe with the ACH it's maybe 0.5% or slightly more. It's under 1%. So if you do give online, feel free to do that. Otherwise, still feel free. Please feel free to, you put a check at the rear in the boxes, mail it to the church. We will receive your money, and we're very thankful for that. And then thank you for your donation. Yes, sometimes people can do like a bill pay from their checking account and just set it to auto send to church. Yep. All right. Also, then I believe I wanted to next thing for me wanted to just lead into a little bit, or am I turning over to you for this? Or I guess I'm done with my agenda items. I'll let you introduce the next one. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. A little distracted this morning. We do need to approve the budget. Bill?
Thanks for the intro. Is there a motion to approve the budget? Nate T, is your second? Arvin over here. Any further questions for Dave on the budget? Any other follow-up questions? No, it's on the budget. Good question. Any questions? Question back in the back. So the question has come up a couple times.
Yeah, multiple people asking the same question. Do we need to do anything? Pastors get a unique housing allotment through the IRS. And so do we need to do anything special? No, we do not. Just this action by voting on the church budget, because it's rolled into that, clarifies that. So we're all okay there. There could probably be some, there's probably some weird legalities about what's happened the last few months. We'll just assume we're okay.
No news is good news. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? The budget is approved. I'm going to segue a little bit. Dave had started, so the next item on our agenda is the task force discussion. And in the articles of bylaws, the task force are authorized by the congregation on an annual basis. There are 4 task forces outlined in your packet. You should have gotten at the back. I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Chris. We're adding a task force this year, a financial task force, and it's kind of tied to some of the things Dave talked about with accounting and such. So I'll let Chris take over that. Yeah, unless you want to do more.
Okay. So I'll just explain the financial task force, and then I think technically we have to review each one individually, right? So one of the things we wanted to do, Dave has been faithful in what he has done in serving, handling the budget. Also on the service task force, he has stepped down from the service task force, and he is willing to continue to serve our church by putting the budget together and being a part of that process. And so we wanted to give him a team. Some of that is for his own sanity, right? It's a big job, and we want to give him a team to support him in that. Some of that's accountability, right? We just want to take our processes and make sure we have appropriate accountability in different levels. And so that's why we've developed this financial task force. I'm not going to read through all these, but you can basically see how they're going to function. Dave is our treasurer. The treasurer is already elected by the deacons, and then the deacons will nominate or elect 2 others to join Dave on that team, and then Pastor Will kind of be the pastoral representative on that team there. And again, we want to provide greater accountability to all the financial activity. We want our different task forces and ministry teams and ministries and staff, we want to all be aligned on what we're doing and having kind of a central team that's overseeing the financial aspects of the budget and the needs, and evaluating that, we feel like will be a very healthy thing for our church and a great direction for us to go. So, any questions on that?
And I assume this is pending if Daniel is elected deacon.
It is, yeah. So we're trying to make sure we have all those nominations in line, and then we'll adjust if we need to. Yeah.
So any questions for Chris on that? So as I go through, flip back to your first page. There is I think it's the missions task force is the first one. So these resolutions should look fairly familiar. So they're to provide care for our missionaries and those heading into the missions. Set our missionary support at 10%. And then you can see the group down below, George Hatfield, Arvin, Sally, Nate Teed, and Kristen Vanderweide would be the missions task force. Back front printing is killing me. So the ABF task force, nurturing believers till they remain faithfully obedient to God, bring fruitful spirit to bring glory to God. So the responsibilities, coordinate the ABFs with community groups and core groups, coordination of classroom use, work with Dave Knutson in developing additional counselors as he runs our counseling ministry, and encourage prayers we disciple. And so the personnel would be the ABF deacons. Dave Knutson would chair. Pastor Chris and Pastor Will would be on that task force. So any questions on the first 2 task forces? I guess I should ask after the first one. All right. The last one. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Lauren. Out of my peripheral vision. I'm sorry about that. It isn't, is it? Everything's going, man. I've got you on the service task force, but I don't know. Is it? Did I miss it? Just add him in, says Pastor Will. He's supposed to be on there. So I apologize for that, Lauren. It's all right. It's all right. The last one is the service task force. So serving the congregation by maintaining and updating our resources for maximum ministry as good stewards. God has been gracious to our church this year with the derecho. That was always a fun time. I know it was a great week for my business. Goals, continuing management of storage, grounds, vehicles, buildings, and it says and budget. The and budget needs to be removed from that. The budget responsibilities would be moving to the financial task force. So that is an error in your book. Manage building needs of various ministries, including our church facility and the lighthouse. And you can see the people down below, Pastor Chris, Ron and Liz Peel, Lauren Vanderweide, you made this one, Lauren, and Tim Stearns. So any questions on that one? So with that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the 4 task forces. Got a motion of Kyle, second by Laney. Any questions on those 4 task forces and what they'd be doing? Back, George, back in the back. Who's responsible for the lighthouse? I think that's the service one, right?
That's a good question and something that we are working on. We don't have an exact answer on that, but we need to, as we've talked through the lighthouse, coordinating with you guys, with Nick and some other areas, and we just need to get that nailed down. How we want that to look, what the list of service looks like, what those needs are. Yeah. Sushma has a question, I think.
Other question, Sushma. I apologize. Like Lauren said, I'm getting older, so. To provide care for those on the missions. So, heading into the missions. So, I'm not on that task force either, so I'll have to have somebody else answer that. So, what is the plan for those heading into missions?
Yeah, I can answer that. In the past, we've formed a subcommittee out of the missions task force or asked other people in the church to get involved. For instance, you can talk to Amanda Huff now about how that worked. But yeah, so they form a group, help you think through different needs, and they encourage you in the process of either raising support or whatever. So that's the process.
Other questions? Does that answer your question? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Other questions? I'm scanning, Lawrence. I can't get my peripheral. Any other questions? All right. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. So what's next on my agenda? Next would be the deacons vote. So hopefully you have a ballot in front of you with 6 names on it. So Keith demonstrated outstanding counting abilities earlier this morning, so he volunteered, and I've got Lance over here. Will serve as our tellers to count the ballots. But you should have a ballot with 6 names on it. Please vote for 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6. If you have those, fold them up. Maybe pass them to the middle, and we can pick them up, and those guys will go count them. So Chris is going to help with the middle. Go from there. Yes, ma'am. You didn't get any, so if you scribble it on the back of your hand, and then we'll take that. Chris is getting. Pastor Chris is getting some. Dave Fee's from Chicago, so he has extra ballots. Members? You have to be members to vote. You have to be a member to vote. 16 and older. Oh, I should introduce him. I apologize. Please forgive me. So, Daniel Park. Is Daniel here this morning? No. John Smith. John's in the back, in the corner. Nathan Teed, the man, the legend, proudly wearing his Iowa State. Lauren Vanderweide, over in the corner. Don Abbas, not here. And Dave Knutson. I thought I saw Dave this morning. Dave's right back here. Dave Fee is hoarding ballots if you still need one. Does anybody else still need a ballot? And then if we could get them turned into Keith and Lance, we'll take care of the counting for us. Got one right back here? Here you go, Nate. I could get it to the proper authorities. Okay, any other ballots? Last call for ballots? Last call for ballots? All right, we'll turn Lance and Keith will count those for us. The last item on my agenda is church officers. So our bylaws require us to have 3 church offices, a president, a secretary, a treasurer. They're required by the state for us to have these, but they really don't have any actual responsibilities. So they're very important roles, very important roles. They do have things, if we did have to actually like sign a legal document or something like that, they do come into that, but they really, other than that, they have no purpose or role other than satisfying a government requirement, which I guess is good. I tell the people in my office I don't look good in orange jumpsuits, so I have to follow the rules of the law. So there's an officer, president, secretary, and treasurer. We'd like to put forth 3 names. I had the shortest straw, so they wanted me to be president, Nick Ball as secretary, and Dave Hyman as treasurer. So unless somebody is dying to have one of those spots, I'd entertain a motion to approve those. Esther moves. There's a second for that. Thank you, Nate. Even gave me the peace sign, so he's really on top of it. Any other questions? Any other questions or discussion on that? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed besides Nick, Dave, and I? Motion carried. Any other business to come before the congregation? Anything else? Anything else? Any other business from the congregation? Questions? Dave, did you have something? All right. Don't blame the moderator. It wasn't on his agenda. It wasn't. I even wrote extra notes.
He even wrote extra notes. Really? I'll try to make this quick. I felt like I needed to give you just a little bit of an idea of the counseling stuff. So if you can give me just a minute, one of the things that I wanted to, if you saw in the ABF task force, some of my responsibilities are kind of waning for a little while here with the ABFs and whatnot. We're doing some intentional stuff, waiting for things to change with COVID and whatnot. I have been focusing more on the counseling stuff. There's, one of the things that is a desire of mine was to have it be under the wing of the church more. In the past, it had been kind of a separate entity to some degree, and so we've been working on that to develop that more, and so I've encouraged that we have it on the church website and whatnot. But to my chagrin, I saw that as far as getting onto the Crosswalk Ministries website is very challenging, and so Chris, you and I are going to work on that if that's okay. I know you didn't know that, but we're going to work on that because I was just surprised because it was all in good standing last summer, and then as I was looking at this, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't even get on this right now. What's going on? So anyway, so we got to work on that some. But it is going well. I am, as you well probably know, I am certified through the Association of Biblical Counselors. ACBC is what it's called, and so I do get people that come in to the counseling center because of their promotion, and then I have a number of pastors around the state that are aware, and they send people my way that way as well. And it's been a very, very encouraging type of thing to have an opportunity to do that. But I'm not going to say what goes on in those types of times. I can't mention any of that kind of thing, but I do want to mention that there is a conference that I have been involved in for a number of years that's in Lafayette, faith, Bible counseling type of thing, a church there that has developed this, and this is where I started this whole process personally back in 2010. They are going to have a conference in February, but it's going to be totally different than it was. It's not going to actually be on site. They're going to have a virtual type of thing starting February 7th, and they're going to actually have a 30-day opportunity to utilize the material from that from February 7th till March, whatever, 9th or 10th. I'm not sure if it's 28 days in February or 29 this coming year, 28. So anyway, I have information on that. There is deadlines as far as having be less expensive. It is something that if you do desire to have more information on that, you can talk to me in regards to that, because it's going to be an opportunity that since it's being done virtually, that if there's people that are interested, we could do a time together, over a period of a few weeks or whatever, and try to make it as easy as possible for people to be involved with it. There's going to be hosts that they have that will be interacting and whatnot through it. They'd encourage you to do it that week of the February 7th, but they said you can't extend it 30 days, so there's ways that we can work around that. So it might be a good opportunity under the circumstances for more people to be able to do it that can't go all the way to Lafayette and all the stuff that goes on with that. So if you're interested in that, one of the deadlines is December. I'm sorry, I got all these pieces of paper. I'll try to make this quick. I'm a time-oriented person, so I would rather just talk in 30 seconds and be done, but I can't do that in this case, so I have to go. I got to fight myself on that, to be honest, because I'm. So anyway, okay, where is the paper that I need here? Of course, I didn't bring that one down here. All right, I guess I got to go from memory. Maybe, Bex, you see the sheet there? It's, oh, maybe I got to open it up here. Yeah, there we go. Just got to open up my other stuff. One of the deadlines is December 4th. The price for a single is $285, and married couple is $480, and then it goes up January 8th to $310 for a single, $505 for married. And if it's after January 8th, it's $335 for a single and $530 for a married couple. Now, that may seem pretty steep, but I'll tell you one thing. It's money well worth it. I tell you, it has been a life changer in my life as far as my approach to the Scriptures and how I handle it and helping other people. So you can pray about that and consider it. If you have any more questions in regard to it, you can talk to me. I do want to just real quick give you, out in the foyer, this is one thing that hasn't changed. In the literature little area there, there's a brochure that was made up last year that has some information as far as what we believe in the Crosswalk Ministries and what kinds of things we do in regard to that. So if you want more of that information, you can go to that. I would not go on the website right now. You won't find it. Anyway, this is a year of patience, isn't it? It's a year of patience. That's what I'm going to look at 2020 as being a year of patience. I did want to mention just real quick, and then I'll let Bill have the floor again. I am, the one thing that I really see from the counseling time is the amazing work of the Holy Spirit in regard to it. If it was all up to me as far as how things go in those sessions, it would be a total disaster, because I and no one can know a person's heart. You were talking about that this morning. And yet to see how in a dynamic of that type that I can, by God's grace, ask questions and probe and make people uncomfortable in a setting that's very confidential, and see God do some amazing work in opening up people's eyes. Now, it's not necessarily just this, flip a switch and then it happens. It takes time sometimes. But I tell you, it's something that seeing how the scriptures can be used intentionally in people's lives, when they're recognizing something in their heart that isn't right, because our hearts are deceitful, wicked. Jeremiah 17:9 says that. We can't understand. We need God to help us and counsel us through His scriptures. And people like myself are just instruments to guide people with scripture intentionally in helping people. And when people start to see those kinds of things and verses that they may have known all their Christian life, maybe they've memorized them and they studied them and whatnot, but when it is something that is revealed in their heart at that given time, whether it be things that have been happening this entire year or whatever, that expose things in our hearts that we thought, oh, that wasn't me, and yet, it's being revealed. There's scriptures that can really be extremely helpful for people. So, and it doesn't have to be these major things. I mean, right now there's a lot of things going on, with mental health issues. There's identity issues that people, struggle with their identity. There's people that are just lacking hope, don't know where to turn. Maybe they're confused or whatever, and being able to stand on the gospel and Jesus Christ and focusing on that first and making sure that that is firm, and then working from that foundation to help them to work through the things that are overwhelming in their lives is what we do. So it doesn't have to be this necessarily major crisis. It can be something that's very, just needs to get unstuck in something. I've had that very same thing too. I have a friend from our church here that I was struggling with some things, call him up, and he just had 5 minutes, and because he knows me, he just said, Dave, you know what you counsel people with, boom, 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 and it hit home. It's what I really needed to hear, because I have to be counseled too. So anyway, I'm just wanting you to know that we're here, and I feel like I'm climbing the mountain because there's things that aren't quite right as far as the website and some other things, but I know that we're going to get this worked through, and I appreciate people like Chris, who has a little bit more of the wherewithal than I do with technology. It seems like it's always frustrating to me. So anyway, I really anticipate some things being much more fine-tuned and be able to be much more helpful, because that's what I really desire, because I really, really believe in this way of approaching the scriptures and being able to help in counseling, and I want it to be available to people. And I got to admit, it's frustrating to me when some of these things aren't in place the way that they should be. So you can pray that would occur, because I really think that's important, that God has some amazing things in the future with it. So thank you for the time. I'm sure it went more than 5 minutes, and anyway, I appreciate it.
Ed, I wanted Dave to speak a little bit just because he's not, he doesn't toot his own horn, but God has used the counseling ministry in a lot of great ways in people's lives over the past year. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives, and so we're just grateful that God can use him. And we encourage you, if you want to get involved in something like that, again, you don't have to be like the smartest person in the world or anything. You have to be willing to be used by God to use His word in people's lives. And so I encourage you to think about that, as he said about the conference. All right. Other than that, we're done, correct? Oh, we have the results. Okay. While he's walking down here, just quick. So again, we realize COVID's kind of put some things on hold. We're still working through different issues, as we go into the future, trying to get Chris and I on the same page, and also just make sure Chris gets to know people as well. So to continue in prayer for us as pastors, pray for our church. We want to just care for one another. We are seeing God work in people's lives. People are hearing the gospel, and we're excited about that. But just keep praying and working. And if you've got questions, again, you can contact us. And if you'd like us to come visit you, we will be glad to do that too. We've got a list and we're working through it. But if you'd like us to you want to talk, we'd be glad to do that.
Thanks, Dave, and thanks, Will. The results from the deacon voting, Daniel Park, Nate Teed, Lauren Vanderwhite and Dave Knutson were elected to serve as your deacons. So there's that. Anything else to come? Any other questions? If it's a hard question, I've got Will and Chris here. If you have an easy one, I'll take it. What about the bylaws change? COVID has slowed that process. But we actually just met a couple weeks ago to talk about that and see where we want to go with that. But with COVID putting a moratorium, it was really difficult to meet, and something that involved doing it on a video conference was hard. So we're kind of waiting that out. So it's for that. Yeah, Arlen. Okay, is there a second for that? He's got lunch on the way. Tamara, anybody opposed to adjourning? Motion carried. Have a great afternoon.